Mangwanani Mwalalepo Vukenjani Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning on Wednesday, the 12th of July. And as usual, we are excited to be bringing you the news stories stemming from the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweyo.
Here are the news-making headlines. Libya, 37 smugglers sentenced for causing the death of 11 migrants. Sudan civil servant go hungry as war claims livelihoods, and South Africa to hand Mozambique tuna bond minister to FBI. You can watch all our programs on our website, which is called OneUp2 or DSTV 285 or GoTV 25 in Namibia. Later on the show, we have Ari Hochad, who is going to fill us in on the news-making waves in South Africa. We'll be right back with the top stories.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The Agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, oneup2.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The Agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
To start off our top stories this morning, Libya, 37 smugglers sentenced for causing the death of 11 migrants. A Libyan court has handed down heavy sentences to 37 people accused of human trafficking that caused the deaths of migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean clandestinely to reach European shores, the public prosecutor's office said on Monday. The Court of Appeal in Al-Badia, 800 kilometers east of Tripoli, handed down its verdict against persons belonging to a criminal gang who organized the departure by sea of illegal migrants on board a dilapidated boat, resulting in the death of 11 of them, according to a statement from the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor's office, which did not specify the identity or nationality of the accused, said that 37 people were found guilty, 5 of whom were sentenced to life imprisonment, 9 to 15 years imprisonment, and others to 1 year's imprisonment.
Now, Sudanese public school teacher Imad Mohammed had worked for 32 years when war broke out almost 3 months ago, tearing his country apart and his finances to shreds. We only eat 1 meal a day now, he told AFP about his family of 5, and we don't know how long this will go on, said the teacher from Al Jazeera state, which has been spared the brutal fighting but has still suffered dire shortages. Like other civil servants, Mohammed has gone without a salary since the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces took up arms against each other. When the first blast took Khartoum on April 15, banks were shuttered and their doors and branches nationwide have since struggled to provide services because they are cut off from headquarters in the capital. Since then, the only government salaries that have been paid are the armies, deprived of their pay and annual holiday bonuses for the Muslim festivals of Eid al-Fitr in April and Eid al-Adha in June. Around 1 million desperate public sector workers have been forced to survive on their savings or on social aid networks.
In our next story, South Africa to hand Mozambique a tuna bond minister to FBI. Now, South African police have confirmed that former Mozambican Finance Minister Manuel Chang will be handed over to FBI to face fraud and corruption charges in the U.S. Chang has been in jail in South Africa since December 2018. He was in charge of Mozambique's finances when the country guaranteed more than $2 billion in secret borrowing by state-owned firms. It was the country's biggest corruption scandal and led to economic collapse. It is alleged that the money was used to buy a large tuna factory, among other things, leading to the affair being dubbed the tuna bond scandal. Last year, 11 people, including the son of ex-Mozambican president, were convicted of embezzlement and money laundering as part of the same scheme.
Now, as many as 61,000 people have died in Europe's sweltering heat waves, and this was as of last summer, and this is according to new research suggesting countries' heat preparedness efforts are falling fatally short. The study by researchers from European health institutes estimated that more than 61,600 people died from heat-related causes across 35 European countries from late May to early September 2022 during Europe's hottest summer on record. The study, published on Monday in the journal Nature Medicine, found that Mediterranean countries, Greece, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, saw the highest death rate according to population size.
And in our next story, World Population Day, populations in Africa surge. Growing populations in India and Africa are leading to greater development, but they both also face the brunt of climate change. The United Nations estimate that of the world's 8 billion population, India is now home to 1.42 billion people, matching and at some point expected to surpass China. The UN believes this could be any time now at mid-year, but demographers say it may already have happened. It's difficult to know precisely because they are relying on estimates to make their best guess. Climate change could take its toll on India as it has on other parts of the globe and could hamper development. Despite facing many of the same obstacles, the African continent is a center of much interest. It's the fastest growing and the youngest population, according to the Chikti Amare, the deputy director of the African program at the Cathman House think tank in London.
All right, those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we talk to Ari Hochad in South Africa.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune in to Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
All right, let's cross over to Ari Hochad in South Africa as we get into the top stories. In Mzansi now, load shedding and vandalism remain to put pressure on Eskom to keep 3,000 municipal substations operational. And we understand that you, Ari, right now are currently experiencing load shedding and are doing your best to bring us this broadcast, which is why we appreciate you. Do take it away.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and Aina and everyone. Yes, load shedding at the moment where I live, and it is going to end at 8 a.m. But at the moment, it is load shedding. But we've got good camp lights around us here, and the Wi-Fi seems to be stable. What the news is at the moment, like you mentioned, Ashwin, is there's 3,000 substations that's continuing to be under pressure, and that's understandable. The load shedding It goes on and off, and then there's many situations where they just mainly trip, as we know it in our own houses as well. Vandalism, a big problem, and that's linked to unemployment, obviously, as well. To try and protect and to guard, but when those substations get vandalized, it's a problem for that area that the people live in. At the moment, it is the load shedding 2 to 3. It varies. That is one of the substations. The old infrastructure and the upkeep of the infrastructure continues to be a challenge. I think it's mainly because the last 10, 20 years there wasn't enough done in that department. The estimate at the moment is 50 billion to 90 billion South African rand it will cost to do all the maintenance that's needed in the whole infrastructure. But slowly, but South Africa is doing that. There's a new Minister of Electricity, it's Mr. Kosienta Ramaphosa, and he's positive that he can turn it around. It's been a lot better, I must say. That's Minister Ramaphosa. So we're not sure if they letting the substations work too hard, or if it's a better process that's in place now. We hope it's the latter, but it is winter time in South Africa, so it is cold. People use more electricity, but at the moment there's the load shedding continuing.
All right, Ari, in your next story, authorities remain concerned about continuous truck burning attacks on 2 different routes in South Africa. Tell us about this.
Yes, every citizen in South Africa concerned about what happened in 2021 when we see trucks burning. We see riots 2021 with that massive destruction it was way back then. 350 people that died then, and 50 billion rands lost. But it seems to be xenophobic. The reason for the 17 trucks have been burned since Saturday. So it's quite a lot in the KwaZulu-Natal and also in the eastern province in Mpumalanga. And it seems to be that some of the drivers, the reason might be that they're not happy with foreigners, foreign drivers taking their jobs, so to speak. So that's not acceptable. It's definitely xenophobic. Then Minister, or the President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, said that he slammed the attacks and he appointed a team to investigate that. Also, Minister of Police, Becky Kelly, said that they're hot on the heels of the perpetrators, so hopefully they will be arrested. Hopefully it will be addressed. We see in South Africa, every time something happens, there's just a committee formed to investigate. We don't see enough action, to be honest. So hopefully they will catch the people or get to the root of the problem.
Indeed, I mean, after all, South Africa is not an island or merely a direction. Its second name is Africa, which means Africans should be reasonably at home in South Africa, and trade amongst Africans is normal. Rand Water announced that planned water outages will take longer as originally expected in Johannesburg. Could you please expand on that?
Yes, the community of Johannesburg, many suburbs there, they got a good lead up and warning that it started last night at 7 p.m. It's going to continue till Friday morning at 5 a.m. It's 58 hours, 60 hours without the water. That is for planned upgrades on the Eikonof pump, so that is acceptable. Johannesburg has been under pressure because of water, because of load shedding, because there's been many substations that battle to get the water to the substations with the pumps being down. So water is a problem in that area. Also cholera, that breakup that we reported about a few weeks ago as well. So the quality of the water is the issue. Reality in South Africa, 19% of rural, 90% of people in rural areas they don't have access to clean, reliable water, and 33% no basic sanitation as well. So it is a problem in many areas, water, the quality of the water. And in many cases, the water needs to travel 400 kilometers to get to reservoirs in Johannesburg. So it is a challenge, but some people might at the moment.
Ari, there will be some action in New Zealand this coming Saturday. Tell us about the sporting events that South African sports teams will be partaking.
Yes, us in Africa, in Southern Africa, we focus on the things that makes us positive. So we talked about lots of challenges. This makes us smile, and good luck for the Soccer World Cup starting for South Africa. There's been some challenges with SAFA as well, with contracts and payments, but they're done. They're safely in New Zealand. They play against Costa Rica in New Zealand on Saturday. So that's a warm-up game. That's the first warm-up game, only warm-up game. Then the 23rd of July, this Saturday in a week's time, it's their first game against Sweden. Also on Saturday morning, early morning, 9 o'clock, it's the Springboks against the All Blacks. That's the old foes. That's always a big challenge for South Africa and New Zealand. World Cup here, of course, France, and we're doing Le Rugby Joel on many platforms on NMH. And so it is a nice rugby to look forward to. So good to see our Namibian, our South African rugby team, and also the South African soccer women's team in action on Saturday.
I have to say, normally I'm excited for such a clash, but heading towards the World Cup, I have to knock on wood, hoping that there will be no injuries and all teams can show up as their very best in France. Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Thank you. Big pleasure. And I've got 45 minutes still to put on the kettle, so think of me. So I'll have coffee at 8.
Do enjoy that coffee, not too much sugar. All right, we're going to go check out the weather predictions and we'll return with economic news.
In our economic news this morning, financial inclusion soars in Tanzania. 67% of adults in Tanzania now have access to formal financial services, up from 65% 5 years ago, according to a new report. The FinScope Tanzania 2023 survey attributes the rise to widespread adoption of mobile money services and increased access to formal banking. FinScope is a national representative demand-side survey of people aged 16 years or older living in Tanzania. The size of the adult population in Tanzania is currently estimated at 34.1 million, equivalent to 55% of the country's total population of 61.7 million, according to the 2022 National Population and Housing Census.
Now, just briefly, it seems flying within Africa is more expensive than flying almost anywhere else in the world. Travelers pay higher ticket prices and more tax, and it's often cheaper to fly to another continent than to another African country. And for a quick comparison, flying from the German capital Berlin to Turkey's biggest city, Istanbul, will probably set you back around $150. But flying a similar distance, say between Kinshasa and Nigeria's Lagos, will cost between $500 and $850, which of course makes business very difficult. We'll head into the indicators just before the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news and starting off with Wimbledon, exciting Wimbledon that continues in London, and it is week 2, almost time for the finals being played on Saturday for the women and on Sunday for the men. Big results in the men's division, and it is a number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz. He's through to the quarterfinals. He had a tough game against Matteo Berrettini of Italy, but came through after losing the first set, and he won it in 4 sets against Berrettini. He will now face Holger Rune. He's the number 6 seed, so it will be a tough quarterfinal for Carlos Alcaraz. 2 of the young players making progress in the world of tennis. It is Holger Rune that beat Grigor Dimitrov, and that was also in 4 sets. The score there 3-6, 7-6, 7-6 and 6-3. Also a big surprise, or a surprise in this round of 16, it is Christopher Eubanks of the United States. He beat the number 5 seed, that is Stefanos Tsitsipas. It was a tough game, it was 5 sets, and it was Christopher Eubanks that won the 5th set by 6-4. In the women's division, it is Ons Jabeur of Tunisia still doing well. She had a very comfortable win in the 4th round, and that was against Petra Kvitova. The score there 6-love and 6-3. That now mean that she will play again against Elena Rybakina. That's the 4th seed. I say again because they played in the final of 2022, and then it was Elena Rybakina that won the title last year. So it's a repeat of the final of last year. It is Ons Jabeur against Elena Rybakina in the quarterfinal of the women. Also, Aryna Sabalenka, she's number 2 seed, safely through, and she will play number 25 seed Madison Keys, and also Iga Swiatek, the number 1 seed, also still in the tournament, also through to the quarterfinals. In cycling news, it was a rest day on Monday for the Tour de France, a well-earned rest day after 9 stages, and it is stage 10 that will continue on Tuesday, and that will be from Volcano to Isemu, and that is going to be 167.5 kilometers. Quite hilly is a description of stage 10, and at the moment it's a 2-horse race, so to speak, and the 2 cyclists that seem to be the favorites to win it. It's a defending champion Jonas Vingegaard being chased by a 2-time winner Tadej Pogačar. At the moment it is Jonas Vingegaard leading, but only 17 seconds behind him is Tadej Pogačar in 2nd position on the overall classifications. In 3rd position it is Jay Hindley of Australia, but he is 2 minutes and 40 seconds behind the 2 leaders. Moving on in international sports news to soccer news, and it's Arsenal that continue to make progress to sign 2 very important players for their next season, the 2023-2024 season. Arsenal finished 2nd in the English Premier League and tried to challenge Manchester City for the title in the next season. It's confirmed that West Ham are making progress in the contracts for Declan Rice to go over to Arsenal, and it's a possibility that Declan Rice might even join the Arsenal team on Sunday when they depart for the USA for a training camp. And the amount of money that Arsenal will pay for Declan Rice to West Ham is £105 million.
All right, let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Libya, 37 smugglers sentenced for causing the death of 11 migrants. Sudan civil servants go hungry as war claims livelihoods. Manuel Chang, South Africa to hand Mozambique tuna bond minister to FBI. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for watching our show this morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. You can also watch Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. On that note, it's all our love, all our light. Happy Wednesday.